Dana White of the UFC calls Oscar De La Hoya a scumbag. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Also, sign up for ESPN Plus. They have great UFC. You got Waterson coming up versus Johanna. That's a fight. Order it right now using the link in my description. Nate Diaz pay-per-view. You can purchase it. Use the link in my description. Nate Diaz, Hoya Masvidal, UFC 244. They've been having some real good UFC cards for sure. I like the fight with Robert Whittaker in Australia against Stylebender. Adesanya. Very good, coming out party for Adesanya. Now, Dana White, he's coming over from the UFC. He says he will be getting into boxing shortly. And there's someone that he was friends with in the boxing game that it looks like that friendship has kind of dissipated and dissolved. And that's Oscar De La Hoya. Shout out to worldboxingnews.net. Link is in the description of their article. They have quoted this. But Dana White was on Sirius XM radio and he did an interview. And you guys see the title. Dana White launches astonishing rant at, quote, scumbag Oscar De La Hoya. UFC boss Dana White has opened up on his dislike for Oscar De La Hoya ahead of his launch of his own Zuffa Boxing. Recently, Dana White spoke to friends of the WBN at Sirius XM Fight Nation to give some lip-smacking views on De La Hoya. It's no secret the pair don't get along, but White has taken things to another level entirely. White, is safe to say, is not a fan of the Golden Boy chairman. Quote, "Nobody's going to accuse Oscar De La Hoya of being the brightest bulb on the porch. But let me kind of explain, because I know this is a boxing radio show. Boxing guys get crazy. You start attacking their heroes. So me and Oscar used to be cool, right? He'd have these fights, and I would literally promote his fights on my social media. And I would obviously watch the fights and stuff like that. Then we do Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. And then this guy starts going out pleading with boxing fans not to watch it. I mean, who does that? Just a real scumbag move. Then, as soon as the fight's over, he says that he wants to fight Conor McGregor next. So the Mayweather versus McGregor was horrible for boxing, but him being De La Hoya, fighting McGregor isn't. Give me a break. Then he's gonna promote an MMA fight. Good luck to him. Anybody who wants to try and get into MMA, good luck to you. But then he starts saying we're going to treat the athletes the way they should have been treated, that the UFC doesn't. He has a press conference, goes up on stage, and he doesn't even know any of the fighters' names. Then the show is a complete disaster and flopped. After that, he comes out and starts lying, trying to say that it was a very successful on digital. I mean, I could just go on for days and days about what an absolute douche this guy is. It's so crazy because when I go out there, this guy's been caught out lying multiple times and all this other stuff, and everything he says ends up being wrong. Everything that I said was right. People just don't want to chat shit about Oscar except for me. Well, you have to respect this, well, I don't have to respect anything from this guy anymore. The stuff you respected from Oscar De La Hoya was 10 years ago, okay? That was ancient history. The new Oscar De La Hoya is a scumbag, a liar, and a complete moron. So that's where Oscar De La Hoya and I are. Asked about his social media talk, that their feud is fake, White replied, "If that was made up, we're pretty brutal to each other if it is made up. He's an asshole, so yeah, there you go. Bob Arum's an asshole too, so there you go. Two of my favorite people, De La Hoya and Arum." Man, he unleashed, bro. Dana White unleashed. Now, Dana White, first of all, Zuffa Boxing, I'm interested in them coming to boxing. I give everything a chance. When 50 Cent, something special, man. Hey, I gotta get boxing, nigga. Something special. When 50 Cent, Jay-Z, Dana White, DAZN, I'm open to it. But we'll quickly see what you're talking about. I want anything that uplifts the sport of boxing in a positive way. period. So Dana White has some really good ideas, or ideas that could be innovative. Like he said, he's not going to recognize the sanctioning belts. I'm curious to see how that would play, and that could be changing of a guard if people start biting onto it, or if they make their own belt, and then there's like one belt and people are actually the best versus the best, kind of like the UFC, where it looks like kind of like a monopoly, and people are fighting for that UFC belt, not the WBA got their own rules, the WBC got their rule, IBF doing their own thing. You got 2 and 3 mandatories per sanctioning body. You got sanctioning fees on everything, and some sanctioning bodies have franchise champion and a regular champion, a super champion, a Shawn Michaels Intercontinental champion. It's just a lot. So I'm anxious to see what happens. That's just a sidebar. As far as what he's saying with De La Hoya, I mean, that's his opinion. He says De La Hoya is a scumbag. I will say this, De La Hoya, I don't know him personally like that, but for his brand has been taking a hit. Golden Boy, I can't think of this last hit fight that they put on DAZN. They announced like Andrew Cancio versus Rene Alvarado. I don't really feel like Golden Boy has put really any big fights on the DAZN platform at all. They just haven't. Canelo is the only one. But we'll see we'll see how it goes, Canelo versus Kovalev. But beyond that, Oscar De La Hoya, he was hating on the Mayweather versus McGregor tough. Bernard Hopkins too. They were hating. Bernard Hopkins went on the Breakfast Club, just hating. And it was mighty hypocritical. I know exactly what Dana White is talking about. He was on the guy who's actually suing De La Hoya. He had his own podcast. It was short-lived, and it was with through Golden Boy. And it was Tattoo. He had his own podcast, and then he had De La Hoya. You guys could Google this. He had De La Hoya after the Mayweather-McGregor fight, after Floyd stopped McGregor, and he had this little podcast set up through Golden Boy. And now subsequently he's suing Golden Boy for pain and suffering or whatever. But anyway, Tattoo had this podcast, and De La Hoya was one of the special guests, and he said he would come out of retirement to fight McGregor. So how are you going to tell people that Mayweather-McGregor ruins the sport and is horrible, and Cotto versus Kamagai is the real fight? All this bullshit, because you were promoting Cotto at that time, and that was, that was a horrible fight. That wasn't no big event or anything. And then after Floyd stops him, you come from behind him and say you want to come out of retirement. You ain't fought since Pacquiao beat you, and now you say you want to come out of retirement. So De La Hoya does do that. He speaks a lot and hates, and just look at how he's managing things. Ryan Garcia was upset. Canelo was recently upset. Canelo saying he don't want to fight Demetrius Andrade. Golden Boy's not enforcing Canelo to fight Charlo, fight Demetrius Andrade. And then I don't even really want to talk too much about De La Hoya. Said he's getting into the MMA field because that Chuck Liddell versus Ortiz 3 was, was pretty embarrassing. And Dana White is 100,000% accurate. De La Hoya was like, ooh, it's cold in here, and forgot people's names, and was like shooting the breeze. He looked like he had nothing prepared. He didn't even know the fighters on the card. It was an embarrassing thing. And then to see a guy like, Chuck Liddell, who's, UFC royalty, one of the people that christened and made the UFC and MMA popular, to see him get knocked out like that by just a guy who was a little bit younger, big, and both were out of prime and out of retirement. That just was laughable. I don't even remember. Was that this year? See, you already forget. It wasn't a memorable moment for MMA or combat sports. It was actually pretty sad to see somebody get knocked out of retirement. You knew it was a money grab, and you knew these two guys shouldn't really be sanctioned. Actually, I don't even know if they could get sanctioned in Vegas, so they moved it to Cali. And it was an embarrassing moment. UFC's been putting on some good fights. I'm looking forward to Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal. So, we'll see how this plays out. But Dana White had a lot of choice words for Oscar De La Hoya, and it'll be interesting to see this feud, since Dana White's getting into boxing. See who can make the compelling matchups, and what happens with the Twitter fingers and all that. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. But Dana White not feeling Oscar De La Hoya, obviously. Let me know what you think. If you like what I'm doing, hit the donate button, hit the like button, the subscribe button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego, son. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.